Welcome to another exciting module. And this one is very near and dear to my heart because I feel like this is something that's never talked about, okay? Do you need a studio or not? What kind of system do you need? What kind of monitor do you need? Do you need a proper lighting setup? And should you have some seating area for your clients? Is it necessary? Can you just do it all remotely? Do you even need to bring anyone in? All these things are so important to talk about, and not just like touch base on the surface level, but really deep dive and look at different options. And I'm here to help you build a proper studio for your needs, because everybody has a different thing going on. Somebody is working with a 4K pipeline, somebody might be working with 1080p timeline, some people are only producing for web, and some people are working on broadcast. There's so many different variables that we got to keep in mind, and you can save thousands of dollars if you just know exactly what you need instead of building a somewhat of a generic studio. So if I were to break down what makes a grading studio, I will just give you a macro. So what it is that having a capable machine for your pipeline. Again, going back to 4K, 1080p, whatever you're delivering, having a capable workstation that lets you do that. Second thing will be having a calibrated monitor. And that is so important. The reason why broadcast monitors cost so much money, it's because you don't want to leave anything to chance. You don't want to cross your fingers when you're doing that final output and just hoping for the best. You really need to make sure before you even hit export that this is how everything is gonna look, and this is the best image you can get out of DaVinci Resolve. Third thing on the list has to be proper lighting. That is so important. What you see right here is not how I work. When I'm working, I have bias lighting going on. You can see it a little bit behind my client monitor. So I would have that going on and nothing else. I'm in a dark room. I'm set to 100 nits on my broadcast monitor, and that's the environment that I like to be in. And I got theater curtains, so it's like blackout. So even during the day, I get no light leakage happening when I'm working, and that is ridiculously important. You don't want any reflections. You don't want any sort of lighting messing with what you're seeing on your broadcast monitor. And then the last two steps that I want to talk about depends on if you are a remote colorist or if you have people coming into your office or your home office, whatever you got going on. So I would say having a proper client seating area is very important. A lot of the times you'll have a person or two, you'll have a creative director and a producer if you're working on a commercial, or you'll have a director and a DP if you're working on a short film, feature film, music video, whatever have you. So you want to have at least a love seat or a couple of chairs or something like that that you can just prop up, and then when you're grading, they can just sit back and watch what's happening. And then the last thing for a macro when it comes to color grading studio has to be a client monitor. So a client monitor is what you see right there. So that is a 55-inch LG OLED screen, and OLED is important as a client monitor because then the viewing angle doesn't really matter. They could be sitting anywhere and get the perfect viewing angle, and that is kind of important for the final output without them getting confused, because usually if you're using an LCD or something like that, they could be standing, off to a side, and then what they see is not accurate and they might freak out, and it just creates confusion that's unnecessary. So client monitor is very important for a grading studio setup if you have people come in. Now, this lesson is also very important because I get this question all the time, like, isn't skills trump everything else? Like, if you have a good skill set, do you need all this stuff? Do you need a grading studio, blah, blah, blah? Yes, you do. That is the difference between professionals and amateurs, because can you work on a laptop? Absolutely. Can you grade on a laptop screen? Absolutely. Should you? No, you shouldn't, because all the things that go into a proper setup is necessary, because when you're working on big projects, you have really tight deadlines and you don't have a lot of room to like take your time, deal with crashes, restart your computer, go get a cup of coffee. No, you have to be on the go. The trial and error phase only exists when you're working up to that professional level. And once you're working on high-end jobs, it's just go time. And that's why, think about why Apple charges so much money for their Pro line. You know, an iMac Pro starts at, you know, $6,000 and then goes up like all the way to like 10 or 12K. And it's because they're giving you a product that's enterprise level. And once you have that, you can just turn it on and then just go work. And I can attest to that because that's what I'm running right there. I have an iMac Pro that's around $10,000. And yes, it seemed like an investment, but I was able to pay it off in like a week and a couple of days. So then after that, it's all profit and it's just a peace of mind. And once I turn it on, I don't remember actually when was the last time I turned it off. So it's like it's always running. There's never any issues. I just get to work and I just work. I concentrate and put all my energy into creativity rather than troubleshooting stuff and figuring out what's going on and calling some IT help desk and figuring out the solution. It just works. That's another question that I get. Can I grade in any environment? Like if I have lights on, this and that? Again, yes, you can. Should you? You shouldn't, because when you get reflection on your screens, like the image looks different. And yes, you can rely on the scopes, but they're only telling you one part of the story. There's so much more to color grading than just being so technical and looking at the scopes and going so linearly. You kind of have to bring the heart into it, and it's the heart and the soul and the technical chops all put together to do the grade that you want to do. And that's why it's important to be in a properly lit environment. Color grading is all about taking out these variables that might cause some sort of uncertainty, because it's so subjective to begin with. And then you start tacking on these things that can like screw you up. That just makes the whole process so cumbersome and very ineffective. One of the things that you need to realize is that in color grading, accuracy is everything. The reason why you spend $5,000 or $6,000 on a 24-inch monitor that's only 1080p is because you're paying for the accuracy. The reason why you're spending hundreds of dollars on separate external scopes is because you're paying for that accuracy. The reason why you're buying OLED monitors than regular client monitor is for that accuracy and literally taking out the doubt, taking out the variables. Variability is a killer for a colorist. You want to be extremely certain, and that's why the equipment costs so much money. The more expensive it is, the better the accuracy of that equipment is going to be. And ultimately, it's going to save you time. It's going to make you effective. It's going to make you confident. And those are all the things that you need, especially if you have clients in-house. They really need to see everything in synchrony and not like one screen is giving you one result and the other one looks like something else. And even if you're working remotely, all these things are important. It ensures accuracy. Now, when you start grading projects on the regular, what you're gonna realize is that you kind of will need multiple screens. So you will need at least one screen for your GUI where your DaVinci Resolve is gonna be running or whatever. And then you're gonna need an external monitor where you're gonna be seeing your end results, what it's gonna look like. And then not just that, you're going to be working with online footage, which is like the highest resolution footage that you got straight from your camera, which means bigger hard drives. And a lot of the times you're going to be using like RAID systems that are going to be sitting next to your desktop. You're going to need to have backup storage systems. So whatever you're working off of, your online storage needs to be backed up to something else. And sometimes you have like multiple redundancies. So like the way I work is that I have an online drive. Online drive is getting backed up to my local backup drive, which is getting backed up to my NAS, network storage. And that's how it rinses and repeats. Like, so every 12 o'clock at night, it, automatically makes those two backups. And then I have everything in 3 different places. So if any time I have a failure with one of my drives, I'm secure because I have the same data in 3 different places at all times. And that's one of those things that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I just need to say it because it does unfortunately matters. And that is presentation goes a very long way. It really does. So for you to charge $1,500 a day, $2,000 a day, $2,500 a day or more, having a pretty rad looking studio, and not only just for the glitz and the glamour, but actually it can support and give you the highest performance for your specific pipeline. It's a win-win. So for people who are just not there yet and they're just starting out with color grading and they just want to start off with the bare minimum setup, I'm just gonna say this: And I will not repeat it for the rest of this module because I do want to stress the importance of having a proper studio setup, but here's the list for bare minimum requirements. If you have a PC or a trash can and you just need one monitor, I will recommend going with BenQ. Like you'll be able to get something around $500 to $600 range, especially if you look on eBay or whatever is the equivalent to eBay in your country. You can find a good deal on BenQ products and they're pretty color accurate. And I will say that could be just one screen where it's the GUI and the canvas where you actually color within that, and that's all you got. You can have an average machine, something like an iMac or maybe a mid-tier MacBook Pro from a couple of years ago. So you can get away with those. And then again, guys, I'm just gonna talk about Apple because that's what I'm using, but obviously just use your interpretation and then use a PC equivalent of like what I'm talking about. So a mid-tier MacBook Pro or a baseline iMac would, get you there, get you started basically in DaVinci Resolve. And then also, if you're just starting out with DaVinci Resolve, you're coming from Premiere Pro, you're coming from Final Cut 10 or Avid Media Composer, I would say start with Resolve free version. So just download DaVinci Resolve and not the DaVinci Resolve Studio version. Try it out. It's completely free. It's not a trial. Take a stab at it, see how you feel. And I feel like the studio version is worth every penny. But before you make that investment, definitely download the free version, mess around with it, and see how you feel. So that's, again, sticking with the bare minimum setup. And obviously, if you're gonna be working with such a bare minimum setup, you don't need to worry about client seating and a client monitor. So don't worry about those things. I would spend that money into my system. I will not move on to getting client seating and client monitor unless I start making upgrades to my system and get it to a half decent point. When it comes to equipment and setting up your studio, there's nothing more important than doing your due diligence, doing your research. So then that should be the first thing we take a look at. Here are my favorite 5 websites that are gonna give you a lowdown on what's happening, what's new, what's hot, what's coming out soon. And not just that, these are great learning resources. So I'm gonna start off with johnnyelvin.co.uk. Check it out if you haven't already. This guy is just a godsend. He curates the best resources out there when it comes to post-production. The search tool here is amazing. Just look at it. Okay, so let's go through a couple of things here. Using an OLED TV for post-production. Here's the thing. When you click on his stuff, it's not something that you can just scroll down here and it's over. I mean, this stuff is in detail. So if you like to take your time and just go through this stuff, I mean, he breaks it down like nobody's business. He adds all these resources that you need to know when you're doing your due diligence. He lets you know how to set it up if you're using it with DaVinci Resolve or what have you, what other competitors are doing in terms of technology. I mean, just look at it. It will never stop. It'll just keep going. So one of the best resources, my ultimate secret sauce. I've learned so much from this website and it is now yours. Bookmark this right now, and anytime you want to go through anything, it goes deep, man. The making of classic editing Heat, like the movie Heat, and when you go in, like, he'll interview people and he'll drop in trailers and teasers and different things behind the scenes, and again, it just goes on and on and on. It's just such an unbelievable resource. So, and then another thing that you can do if you're setting up your studio is go under gear section, and then besides what I recommend you can always just do your due diligence and go through the list here and see what he's got going on, read about it, and see maybe there's something that's more applicable to you than what I'm talking about. Although, if you want to be a colorist, then whatever I'm giving you is just dialed in and tried and tested. But just having additional options, it never hurts. So he has that section, it goes in detail, he breaks it down by budget, so definitely worth checking out. Moving on to my second website is Studio Daily. If you are into anything related post-production, which you obviously are if you're taking this masterclass, this resource is unreal. Just go through it, check it out. It's all work by professionals and interviewing cinematographers, editors, audio professionals, VFX guys, post-production in general, color grading, online editors, blah, blah, blah. It goes on. You can go under tabs such as storage and read about what's happening and what's hot right now in the industry. And this is such an amazing resource. Like if I go under post-production, like just look at that, the first link. I mean, just look at that. So I mean, I didn't know that. I just found out about it. So stuff like that. I mean, you can go through and just read about, like, see reviews on laptops, especially if you're running a PC. This might actually help you out quite a bit because, guys, it's totally different. Like a lot of times people are just like, hey, you know, I have a gaming PC. Should that be perfect when I'm doing editing and color grading? It can be at times, and then other times, you know, there's little nuances that you just got to dig in and understand what you need to avoid any bottlenecks. So this is a great, great resource. I mean, they even have, if you're in the United States, I mean, you can even go under Jobs tab and look at like what they got going on. They also fill you in on any upcoming webinars. And again, everything that you're looking at here, all these guys are just hooked up and they're real professionals. So check them out. Another really good resource when you're doing your research or just being in tune to like what's happening in the industry. And that is the most important thing as a post-production professional, because we have to stay on the bleeding edge of technology. These are the resources that I'm using and are helping me have that edge. The third resource has to be No Film School. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it in the United States, but people who have never heard of it, please check it out. This place just curates the best trending stuff in the filmmaking world. So it's not necessarily restricted to just post-production, but that's also good because I encourage all of you to expand your horizon and don't limit yourself. In 2019, in this day and age, it's an unbelievable skill to be a jack of all trades, and it's coming back. And this is what's hot right now. So you need to jump on shooting, editing, color grading, onlining, knowing a little bit of visual effects. It all comes in handy. So don't stop learning, just keep going, keep going. If you want to become an all-rounder filmmaker, look no further. Just dig deep to No Film School and just eat up everything that they got. And I'm going to show you something really interesting here. So if you click on boards right here, this is sort of like their forum section, and it's really cool because all you got to do is just hover over here, click on editing and post-production, and check this out. Look at this. So I mean, you know, how to build a Hackintosh editing system on a cheap. And you can click here and just look at what they got going on. This is, again, very, very useful. And different cameras, like comparisons, things like that. And this is all in one place. Yes, there's 10 million forums out there that you can use, but then you just get lost. That's way too much. So I'm trying to keep it streamlined. I'm trying to keep it less intimidating. Go through these. It takes me literally 5 minutes. I spend a minute on each one every day. Because I look at it every day, I don't need to spend 50 minutes catching up. So like, I'll just go through it, look at it, and see what's happening and move on. Look at this, Macintosh or Windows. And then you click on it and it'll give you a breakdown and take you through what they're talking about. So it's really interesting, and it's very important to become part of these communities and be in the know, because everything is just happening so fast. I mean, new cameras, programs, new plugins, things are coming out, and you have to stay on that edge. You can't just learn DaVinci Resolve 16 and not upgrade for the next 3 years and think that it'll be okay. It might be okay, but knowing and staying on the bleeding edge will never hurt. So that's No Film School, your all-round filmmaker kit. Now moving on to News Shooter. And this has to be the one site that put me on Aperture Lighting, and I picked it up here, and they just do unreal reviews. Like, you can click on anything and then just look at how deep their reviews are, and like all the videos that they put together and their own testing that they do, and they go in there, and they're professionals. I mean, just look at their work. Look at that, 18-time Emmy Award winning DP. You kidding me? So this is the kind of website you want to be on and place you want to be learning things from. when you click on software, just look at that. So they'll keep you up to date with what's happening. I own Hedge, and now this is cool because I didn't check this out. So I can click on it and see what's happening and get my updates here. I'm sure audio will be the same thing, lighting will be the same thing, lenses, cameras, camera accessories. You know what I'm talking about. So anything that you guys are looking for, you can click here. The breakdowns are great. The search engine is perfect. So check it out for sure. And especially if you're going to be investing in gear, this is a good stop. And then ultimately B&H for all who are in United States and people in other countries. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I'm not there. So I don't know what's the equivalent to these websites. eBay, where you can buy used stuff in America. I don't know what's the equivalent to that is. But you need to always have two websites, one where you can buy new stuff like B&H or Amazon, and then the other one where you can find deals like eBay or Craigslist. So guys, just remember, have those two always open when you're doing research and trying to get something, and then type it in and look it up. Sometimes you might find a deal, like, you know, here we have a deal zone, so I can look it up. And like right now, if I look at Zoom H4n Pro, they have $40 off deal going on right now. This is a better deal than buying it used on eBay today. So sometimes you will deal with stuff like that. Same thing right here. You're saving $665. They're not BSing you. This is a real deal. If you go on eBay and look for used, the used is going for $1,100. So here you're getting brand new for $900. And this is not a clearance item. So these are the things that eventually I'm going to be educating you on a little bit in this section, but you just need to know that this stuff exists and always be on the lookout, because the studio that you're going to want to build is going to cost a lot of money, and this is how you got to play the game to get there faster without spending 50 years in the making. So to wrap it up, I will highly recommend bookmarking these sites and turn it into a daily ritual. Just thumb through it, spend a minute, minute and a half on each one and try to see what's happening, stay educated, and let's move on to the next lesson. All right, so this is what you can expect from this module, okay? I'm gonna be breaking it down into 3 different tiers. We're gonna have tier 3, which we're gonna call broke. Then we're gonna have a come up tier, which is gonna be tier 2. And then we're gonna have a baller tier, which is gonna be tier 3. So I'm gonna be using Mac as an example through and through, because I don't wanna share anything with you that I don't own or I haven't tested. I wanna stay true to my message. You're getting the tried and tested experience more than me just making predictions and what I've read online. And all of you out there with PCs, you're just gonna have to use some imagination and work with me here, find the equivalent to what I'm showing here in the PC world. All right, let's start with tier 3 broke. In this lesson, I wanna take you through what is the bare minimum items you need for a grading studio. If you're just starting out and money's kind of tight and you're getting into it and you want to do it seriously, I'm going to hook you up with a setup that's going to get you going. And with some jiggery pokery, you can optimize your system to make the most of it. Ready? Let's go. Let's start with the computer first. I could have had everything opened up here for you, but I want to take you through the process to kind of see what's going through my head when I'm doing my research. And that step is very important, because when you're going to be out there buying this stuff for yourself, I want you to like really see what I'm doing and how I'm researching for it. So I'm going to look up a 2017 MacBook Pro. Okay, I'm going to start off with that. So 2017, about 2 years old MacBook Pro. These are the things that are important. So we can go with a 256 gigs hard drive, and that's going to be an SSD, we know that. And then things that are very important is, obviously, first of all, let's just narrow the search. I'm using eBay. Whichever country you're in, I'm sure you have something similar to eBay, so just use that. And then another important thing is that we want to choose i7 7th generation. Now, having a newer generation processor is very important because they're optimizing these new processors for encoding 4K footage. Now let's just go ahead and select SSDs, and now we're down to about 9. What we can do is select buy it now, and then condition, we can just leave it as is, and now just go through and see what we got over here. one thing that I want to make sure right here is that I'm going with 560. So this is the highest end card you can get in these MacBook Pros, and having a high-end graphic card is very important when it comes to color grading. Now we're down to these three systems. So it's not confusing. It was pretty easy. You saw how I did it. So now I'm just gonna go, you know what? Just show me the top one, see what's going on with this. I'm gonna scroll down, and this is where you can see the specs. So we have the i7, like it says, we have 16 gigs of RAM, we have 256 PCIe based SSD, which is super fast. And this is saying that it has 555, whereas here it says 560. So either way, you get the idea. Look for these things are important, and just look at the price. This MacBook Pro, when it first came out, was close to $4,000, $4,500, and you know this. After taxes and everything was probably $4,500, and we're getting that computer after 2 years for $1,500. This is a freaking steal. And guys, just remember, buying used stuff is where it's at. If you want to build your studio, your dream studio today and not tomorrow, then stick with used stuff. You can literally save half the money. And the best part about it is that tomorrow, if you get tired of it, or if you made a wrong choice and you don't want it, then you can just sell it and only lose a couple of bucks instead of losing 25% or 30% off of the MSRP. This is the system that we're looking at for the broke. And you might be thinking, man, come on, it's $1,500. This is not cheap. I was looking for something $700, $800. Well, you have to put in some money when it comes to color grading. I'm sorry to break it to you that this is going to be a bare minimum setup. 16 gigs, I'm telling you, you just have to. Every single camera out there, including your smartphones, is shooting in 4K. And for that, you need at least 16 gigs of RAM, and you need at least 4 gigs of VRAM, and this laptop has that. I would say 8 gigs should be minimum, but 4 gigs, whatever. And i7 2.8 is absolutely important. And then with your 256 SSD, your program drive, you should be flying through it. Now, another thing, I know I did say that I'm not going to be looking up anything for PC users, but I'm going to go ahead and look at this particular laptop because I owned it and I loved it. I did go the PC route a couple of years ago, and I came right back. It wasn't good. I had tons of issues and it just wasn't working, and I had to come back to Mac. So anyways, this is what we're looking at. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select the same SSD. So 256, it's HP Omen 17. Solid laptop, unbelievable value. It's so cheap, it's so good. And then for RAM, we can do 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD. Wow, 8 gigs. Okay, so let's look at this system. So this is pretty comparable to this price. So this is $1,500, this is $1,396, so this is around $1,400. It's manufacturer refurbished. If that's not your thing, then look for used, but I'm just gonna stick with that. Now what we're looking at is a 7th generation 2.9 i7, and it has 32 gigs of RAM, so already has double the amount of RAM. It has 1 terabyte PCIe NVMe, whereas the MacBook Pro version had 256, and it has GTX 1080, which is a 8 gig card compared to a 4 gig card in the other machines. So on paper, it blows the MacBook Pro out of the water, but I can tell you, based on my experience, MacBook Pros and how Blackmagic developed their software, they just work so well together. And once you make an investment in something like a Mac ecosystem, it's going to be a plug and play. You turn it on in the morning, you get to work, you stay creative, you turn it off, and same thing, rinse and repeat. Also, I want to tell you that, trust me, speed is not going to be lagging that far behind, okay? I've tried both of these, and I'm telling you, the give and take, I will choose Mac over PC. But for all my brothers and sisters out there that are hardcore PC people, then this will be your option for broke setup. So this is as far as the computer is concerned. Now the next thing that I want to show you is going to be this tangent ripple. And guys, let me just tell you, I know you might be thinking, come on man, this is a broke setup and you want me to get a control surface? Yes, because you don't understand. Having a control surface can just genuinely skyrocket your color grading career. And that's not because you're gonna get more clients, it looks flashy and all those things. It's because you're gonna be so much more efficient. You're gonna start thinking differently. That's like telling a painter to paint without a paintbrush. It just can't happen, okay? You need your fundamental, your necessary tools. And I am just gonna go out and say that this is your fundamental 101 tool. Like, you need to have a control surface. I say buy this from Amazon for 30-day money back guarantee. Use it, and if you don't like it, send it back. But I'm telling you, in the first hour of your use, you're gonna be hooked and you'll never wanna look back. So Tangent Ripple is the most affordable option. I want to take you to the websites first for whatever I'm looking at. Then we're going to look it up and find deals, okay? So first of all, I just want to take you through it and show you what it is. So you got wheels, lift, gamma, gain, and then you got these RGB balls. And that's all you have. And then you have reset and some basic controls, and that's all. You might be thinking, well, I work with curves. I never use my primaries. What good is it for me? That's your first mistake. If there's one thing that you've learned in FCM and how I operate, I get most of my heavy lifting done with primaries. And that's why this is everything. It's gonna let you do 90% of the heavy lifting using primaries, and then you can go ahead and use your pen and tablet, mouse, whatever you use, and bring it home. So now let's just go back and see where we can buy it. So I can go and look it up on B&H. That should be our first stop. So it's going for $332. I mean, it's so cheap. Having a control surface this cheap is unreal. Tangent makes really good products, so don't think that, you know, it's gonna lack in quality or anything like that. But you know what? I'm just gonna go on eBay. Let's just see if we can find it here. A lot of the times you'll be surprised there's so many good deals. Unfortunately, not for this, because there's only 4 results, and out of those 4 results, the price is the same as B&H. So sometimes actually it's cheaper on B&H. So just pick it up from B&H. That is the cheapest solution when it comes to control surfaces, and I wouldn't have it on here if it wasn't that important. So just letting you know. Think about it, it's important. Now the next thing is going to be our monitor. I say you can get away with this. This is the bare minimum option, and guys, don't go any cheaper or don't go with anything else. Again, I've used it, look at the reviews, and it's color calibrated, but don't trust these guys. I'm going to show you a better way to calibrate it, but this monitor can get in the ballpark and give you really good results after some calibration. So that's why I would recommend this over anything else. ViewSonic, this and that, I don't know, I don't care. I've tried some of them and they are awful when it comes to color accuracy. It's $500, but don't worry about this. Let me show you how to get a better deal on this. So let's go type in LG UD68 and look at this. I don't even have to search for anything. This is what shows up. Pre-owned, 1 left, 24 sold for $195. This is exactly the same monitor we were looking at. It's open box. The original packaging is gone. Who cares? You're picking this up for $195 plus $15. So basically for $210 instead of $500 plus tax, you are essentially getting the same monitor for less than half the price, and the shipping is pretty fast. And this is what I'm talking about. Use, start looking for deals. I'm doing this in real time so you can see how my brain works and how I'm looking at these deals and how much money you can save. And these products that I'm showing you are it for the category we're working on for tier 3. Okay, so now we got our monitor. Now we're gonna go look for this guy, and that is the sauce. So you got X-Rite i1 Display Pro, and I'm gonna show you what it is right here. So this is what it looks like. That thing right there. In the industry it's called a probe, but it's basically a color calibration tool or display calibration tool. And what happens is that when you turn it on, you're gonna download the software first, and when you open up the software, it's gonna look like this. Then you go in and you go into the monitor, you select your monitor, and then this is what you do. You grab your probe and you stick it on your screen just like that. It even will have that little guy on the screen, and you can just put it right on top of that, what you see in that screen. And let me just give you a better angle. So this is what it looks like, and this is how, see? So sitting right on that guy in the screen, set it up on there, and then you just hit next, and make sure that your room is optimized for the lighting conditions. So I always say have a good ambient lighting situation when you're working, but for the broke setup, I'm not really recommending any specific lighting condition. So I will say just turn all the lights off and keep it dark. And if you can't keep it dark, let's just say it's your bedroom and you're sharing it with your wife. If that's the case, then it is what it is. Even if you have, normal room lights, best thing about this guy is that make sure that you keep your room in the natural lighting setup, and then throw this thing on, let it do its thing, and then it's gonna optimize the colors given your lighting conditions. Okay, so that's very important then, that the lighting condition stays true. Don't turn the lights off and then calibrate it and then work while the lights are on. You have to be in the environment you usually are in your room. Once you run this probe onto your monitor, the results are gonna be completely different. It's not going to look anything like their quote unquote color calibrated profile. So this is a must have, and nothing will be here if it's not absolutely necessary. Okay, because I understand you guys are on a budget and this is a tight ship. Again, we can search it on eBay and see what's going on. So I mean, you can save a couple of bucks. This company is selling it brand new for $260. Whereas here you probably have to pay shipping and tax, so it's going to go over $300. This is $260 flat, so you're saving 40, 50, 60 bucks. Definitely something to look into. So we're getting a pretty good deal here. Or if you don't mind, you can pick up a refurbished for 200 bucks. It's up to you. Actually, this one is saying that this is brand new too. So 220 plus 10, 230 for brand new, and here it's going to be over 300. So now you're saving 70, 80 bucks. So definitely this is a deal. All right, moving on. Now we're gonna look at hard drives for this particular category, and I'm gonna go with two big professional 2-bay RAID drives, and specifically this kind right here, and it's around $529. And let's go and let me show you why this drive. First of all, I love the ability that it has dual Thunderbolt 3 ports, so you can daisy chain. That just makes it so much more practical, especially if you're using it with a laptop. But here's the thing, this is the sauce right here. You can configure it, because it has multiple drives, you can configure it either RAID 0 or RAID 1, which if it's going to be your online drive, which it will be, meaning you're going to be working off of this drive, this is going to be your scratch drive, I will say set it up as your RAID 0 to get the most performance. And then if we go down and if I show you right here, this is why I picked this drive for you, okay? In RAID 0, you're getting really, really decent speeds. You're getting about 490 and 440. If you have Thunderbolt 3, meaning if you have that MacBook Pro I showed you, you will be getting 490. And if you are going with the PC or something older, then you'll probably use USB 3.1 and you're going to be getting around 440 megabytes read and write. That's going to get you to work with 4K footage natively inside DaVinci Resolve. So that's why it's very, very important. You know the deal. I'm going to go here. I'm going to look up the drive and see what they got going on. So I'm going to do 8 terabyte. I'm going to select 8 terabyte right there, and then let's just see what they have. So with hard drives, you want them new, you don't want it. So I'm gonna do buy it now, and for condition, I'm gonna do new. We're not looking for manufacturer refurbished. We're not looking for used. That's one thing where I draw the line in the sand. So look at this. 2 big RAID for $529 plus tax and shipping. So this is going to be around $560, $570, maybe a little more. Here, we're getting the same drive for $430 plus 16 bucks for shipping. They've already sold 16 or 14, so you know that they're legit and you're getting a deal. So once again, guys, saving you money, getting you the best stuff you need to build your dream setup, regardless of whatever tier you're in. Now, one of the biggest necessary evils. A lot of people hate this part because nobody wants to spend $220 on a hard drive. Nobody wants to do it, but you just have to. This is a backup drive. Nothing more to say about that. The thing that I love about this drive is that it gives you 2 additional USB ports, so you can plug in your phone, you can plug in an additional hard drive, thumb drive, CF card, whatever have you. So it's pretty useful, but the best thing about it is this is great. It just does what it says. I have about 7 or 8 of these. This is my local backup, so everything is being backed up on this, and then it's being backed up on my server. But as soon as I fill these guys up, I label it, I tag it, and I put it away, and I get the new drive and rinse and repeat. So definitely something you need. Let's go on eBay and see if we can find a deal. Seagate external drive. So on Seagate, this is the same drive plus hub is being sold for $140. Buy it now, free shipping. So look at that. It's $220 plus tax and shipping, so you're looking at $250. And here you're picking this up for $140, no tax, so you're saving a little over $100 right there on that drive. So when you buy multiple, you'll literally be saving twice the amount of money. So that's going to be your external drive, definitely a must-have. And then I just want to talk about internet speed. I'm looking at this entire module as if you are a full-on studio. Okay, whether it's a bedroom studio, whether it's an actual studio at a commercial property. So given that, the internet has to be very, very important. And I don't know what the internet is like in other countries, but I will recommend getting at least a cable internet, not DSL, not dial-up, forget about that. I don't even think it exists. But in this category, you're going to be going with cable internet, and a lot of the cable companies with their TV service will bundle this in. And just make sure that you get their mid-tier at least, top of the line if you can, but mid-tier should do just fine, whichever country you're in. And that's going to be the bare minimum requirement. And then the last thing that I want to talk about, guys, I don't know if you ever considered it, but get yourself an iPad. Any iPad, even in Company 3, and that's basically, for those who don't know what Company 3 is, it's pretty much the biggest head honcho when it comes to color grading. They color grade any and every movie under the sun, top commercials all over the world. They're just it when it comes to color grading. They're the golden standard, and even at that level, all their studios are equipped with iPads, and basically what they're doing there is running their final color check on their iPads. So they'll export a still or a bunch of stills or all stills from a commercial or whatever they're working on. Then they will load it up on their iPad or on their iPhone, and then they'll scroll through and see how it looks. You will not understand when it comes to color accuracy how crazy the iPhone is. It genuinely is the golden standard. If it looks good on your iPhone or on your iPad, it looks good everywhere. It might as well be the brand new broadcast checker. But if you can get like a $200 iPad or something, just knock yourself out, look it up on eBay, buy like a super cheap iPad. I mean, let's just do a search, okay? So I'm just gonna go in here and I'm gonna find the cheapest iPad. So I'm gonna just type in iPad. I don't even care. Look at this. I mean, there's like under $200 iPads. So you can just literally pick up one of these guys, and the thing that you need to do, the $1 million thing that you have to do, is to turn off True Tone. If you don't turn off True Tone, everything is going to be screwed up, and then don't buy it at all. So you have to turn off True Tone, and after that, if you have an iPad, just put it next to your setup, and then anytime you're creating a look and you just want to make sure that you're in the ballpark, export that still, bring it into your iPad, pop it open, look at it at half brightness, and then see how it looks. And if it looks good, that's your signal that you're on track. This will wrap up Tier 3 broke. Now we're moving on to Tier 2 come up. All right, moving on up. Tier 2, come up. First thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna jump right in and start with the computer. So let's just go to eBay. And this time we're gonna be using an iMac. You know what? We can even go to Apple and just build an iMac. And let's go in here and we're gonna build it out. So it's gonna be 27 inch and we're gonna go with the maxed out version, and we wanna get 8 core. Yep, that's worth the $400. I will say 64 gigs. Now here's the thing. You can get 32 and upgrade yourself and pay half the price to 64, so just keep that in mind. So the internal graphic card matters a lot on a Mac, and because the only way to get an external card is through Thunderbolt 3, eGPU, in my experience, the performance is just not the same. So don't go cheap, just get the best card you got here, and that's gonna make all the difference in the world. This is also very important. I will go with 1 terabyte SSD. You know what, we can even do 512 if you wanna save a couple of $100, but SSD over Fusion any day. It's so fast, it's PVMe, so it gives you like 2000 read and write, and that's what you need to boot up your applications, things like that. So what we're looking at is $3,849, and then it's gonna go somewhere around $4,400, $4,300, like with tax and shipping and everything. So let's look at a similar setup on eBay and see what we find. So I'm just gonna, all right, so let's find a similar setup on eBay. So I'm just gonna do iMac, and then what I'm gonna do here is select 27 inch, and then we're gonna do 64 gigs of RAM. And since we're looking at it on eBay, probably somebody had already put in aftermarket RAM, so we don't have to worry about it. Let's just do i7, and now we only have 12 options coming up here. And then once I do SSD, it should even reduce the choices down to 8. And then once I do buy it now, let's see, yeah, 8 options. So I'm just gonna scroll through and see what's going on here. So this one has Radeon 580. This is coming with the RX 580, and I want to see what we wanted here in terms of the graphic card. We wanted the Vega. So none of these are coming with Vega, huh? Basically, if you want to save about $1,000 and get more, like this one has 64 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte drive, then you can go with something like that. It's used but in excellent condition, and you have to pay $40 in shipping, and you can get it for $2,800. That is a pretty capable machine that can get you going with DaVinci Resolve, no problem. And later down the road, I'm going to be showing you some system optimization hacks, and once you do those, this machine should be good enough to get you going. So that's for the system. Now let's move on to the next bit, which is going to be our control surfaces, and I'm going to go with Resolve Micro Panel, and let's pop that open. So this is the guy that you need. I mean, just look at the reviews, even everybody loves it. This is next level to tangent ripple, because it gives you, let's just pop in and zoom in and just show you things that it has readily available for you. So you have your wheels, you have your balls right here, then you have your, you can reset RGB levels or both, and then you have your Y controls right here, your contrast and pivot and mid detail. These knobs are so freaking important. You got your color boost, shadows, highlights, again, so important, saturation, hue, and luma mix. All of these are incredibly important, guys. And then you got grab stills. Basically everything that you see here is just absolutely essential when it comes to color grading, and when you want to just burn through your grades and focus all your energy on creativity than looking for the right key. So you can't put a price on it. $1,000 is a steal. I can go look for it on eBay, but I don't think anyone is gonna have it here. Let's see, Resolve micro panel. Let's just see. 1025, 1025, $1,000. So you're saving about $30. Sometimes you gotta make that call, right? So you're saving $30, but you're buying it from a off-brand, some dude. Whereas if you buy it from B&H, you get the 30-day money-back guarantee and all that. And if there's any issues, you're not gonna have any problems returning it. So, you know, if it's 30, 40 bucks, I will almost always just go and pay the price. If it's usually like how I'm showing you, where it's $1,000 less or something like that, then it's a no-brainer. So in this case, I will be going with brand new through B&H. All right, moving along. Now we're gonna look at the monitors, and that's where this section gets so exciting. So my ultimate recommendation is gonna be BenQ's PV3200 PT. This monitor is everything. Just look at it. Video post-production monitor with Rec 709 at 100%. That's ridiculous. Factory hardware calibration. So it's already comes in calibrated, so you don't even need a probe for this monitor. I own it, and I can tell you, if you don't have $4,000 to $5,000 to drop on a monitor, this right here is a steal. And the only problem is that currently it's out of stock in the United States. And even if you go here and you look for some options, it's selling for a ridiculous price. But let me just tell you what it means when you are looking for deals, okay? I bought this monitor for $570. Look at it, what it's going for right now, and it's sold out everywhere else. Look at the shipping. So with shipping and everything, you're looking at $1,900. I bought this thing for $570 over a year ago. And I did that because I am always looking for deals, and I found it on eBay. It was refurbished, but manufacturer refurbished. And to top it all off, it was available for a local pickup. It was 5 miles from me. I went there, I tried it out, I loved it. There was no dead pixels, nothing. And I purchased it for $570. So that's why, guys, always be on the lookout. Look for these crazy deals, and it'll blow your mind. Because look at, right now you can't pick it up. You just can't have that. So your second option would be its little brother, this guy, PV270. There's absolutely nothing wrong with PV270. You're not losing anything in quality. If anything, this one comes Calman calibrated. So it's verified by Calman. Calman is a really big probe company. So this monitor is coming in calibrated. It's even a little bit cheaper, and it's 27 inch. You should be totally fine with 27 inch. And look at that. You can grade your footage, and it could be ready for TV or film. And guys, they are not messing around. I mean, these guys and their color accuracy is just crazy. It is absolutely insane, and I'm telling you, it's even powered by X-Rite, so the probe that we looked at in the last lesson. And this is the sauce. It comes with a freaking factory calibration report sheet. So I'll give you a sheet which will tell you exactly where your monitor sits. And it gives you functionality like Gamut Duo, so you can have Rec 709 and DCI if you're going to be putting it on a projector and you're grading for broadcast. You can look at both of them side by side in the PIP option. Having experienced its big brother, this monitor is the best bang for the buck, hands down. Just get it with your eyes closed. Now, I can research this on eBay, but I don't think we're gonna have much luck with it because I think it's fairly new. Oh no, so let's check it out. So look at this. This is refurbished. Remember when I was telling you I bought its big brother refurbished for $570? Well, this one is going for $550. So now you can easily, let me put it next to it. So you can easily save, you know, this is $900 with tax and everything. It'll be around $950. So you can easily save about $450. It's almost like getting it for half the price. And guys, this is totally fine. You can use it, you can try it out, and you can still ship it back. that won't be a problem. But you can have it here for 550 bucks, great deal. So this monitor, that's it. Look no further, but I will give you another option that is going to be just a little bit more expensive. But if you got the itch and you got the money for it, then by all means. So I'm going to show you ISO, another company that makes excellent products. I've used these monitors at work. I personally never owned them, but I've worked at a company that had its big brother, and it was the same series, CG, and these monitors are color calibrated. Just look at it, right? So look at this. So they come in with a color calibrator built in. It pops out. It has a built-in software, so it will calibrate the system depending on the ambient lighting change or whatever, and you never have to worry about it. And it's a 10-bit monitor, so as the BenQ also. This is an absolutely great monitor, and let's see how much it sells for. And it's going to be going around, yeah, it's going for around $1437. And ISO this is a very specific monitor, so I don't think eBay is going to be selling it. We can look it up. So you can see right here, you can pick it up for $1319 compared to, so $1437. It's about 120-30 bucks cheaper. So if that matters to you and you want to order it from United Kingdom, be my guest and just wait it out. But in my case, again, for 100 bucks, I would rather go with B&H and just get it in 3 days and have that support system, you know, that you get from B&H. And just remember, BenQ, you can get it used for $550. This guy is $1437, so almost $1,000 more. Just a heads up. So your choice. Just to let you know that honestly, what I've experienced with BenQ, I don't think you're going to be missing out on much. I think this is going to be a great monitor, but neither of these monitors are going to replace a broadcast monitor that once you have the money, you will want to buy. So my suggestion to you would be going with BenQ over this. All right, moving on. Now I'm going to show you hard drive options, and for the hard drive options, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take you right here. This drive is it. You're just going to move over here. Before we were looking into that drive. Now we're going to move over here and we're going to look at something like this. So I would definitely go with at least 12 terabyte or 16 terabyte because you need the storage. Nowadays we're dealing with crazy data with 4K, 6K, 8K footage, and my drives are just always maxed out. So a good storage tip that I can give you when you're working, only keep projects that are about 1 year old on your current drive. So everything that you're working on up to 1 year ago, that's it. You keep all that on your RAID drive, and then everything besides that, just move it over to your backups and put them away. So if you do that, then 12 terabytes should be fine. I believe I'm using either 12 or 16 terabyte right now. I have about 365 days worth of stuff on it, like I said, and then I am very diligent with just keeping it clean and spending some time and just making sure that there's not stuff on there that doesn't need to be, stuff like that. So you have to do that because just look at the price point and how expensive it can get. So if you're not tidy with your storage management, you'll be spending a lot of money and it's going to be going to waste. So you just got to work smarter here. And then once you go with the Thunderbolt option, it's a little bit faster. So we can look at it, Thunderbolt 3. This is the drive we were looking at, and it's giving you about 490, close to 500 read and write in RAID 0, which is what I recommend. So that's going to be your storage option, and obviously in here we can look it up and just make sure you're looking for Thunderbolt 3. That's going to be the key here. And I'm going to turn off 8 terabyte and I'm going to turn on 12 terabyte. And then we're going to be looking for Thunderbolt 3. So just look at the price, $750, and let's see how much it's going for here. 12 terabyte, $750. So you're saving about 50 bucks. I mean, you know, it matters. So I would go with them. If you want to go through the actual company, then buy it from, let's see, but usually people would buy it from B&H or whatever. So this is a good price for this hard drive. That will be our RAID solution. for our backup solution, it's gonna exactly be the same. So it's gonna be the Seagate 8 terabyte drives. Just buy them in stock and load them up and just move along. All right, now I'm gonna show you a client monitor. So at this point, you probably wanna pick up a client monitor. Now it doesn't need to be ridiculously expensive. I'm gonna show you some awesome options here. So I'm just gonna type in LG OLED and I'm gonna show you which, and then we'll just click under $1,000, okay? And then these are the choices we have. So let's say you don't wanna go with refurbished, you don't feel comfortable, that's okay. And then let me just click on buy it now. Okay, so we're not looking at refurbished, so we can move down here. Here's a couple of options. So we have a B7, which is an unbelievable TV. I have a B6 and I can tell you I am not thinking about switching to anything anytime soon. It's HDR, it has 800 nits and it's more than enough what I need. And this is going to be even more. This is going to have higher nits and it's a 4K TV, HDR. This is all you need. And it has two modes in there. It has calibrated mode for night and bright. And once you set those up, guys, you do not understand. You're almost there. All I would recommend at that point is to go under your color temperature settings and just make it warm 1 from warm 2. And if you do that, that's it. That's all you need to do. You're good to go. The viewing angle on this thing is perfect. So it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're not behind the TV, you're going to get a perfect view from all sides. And it's game over. There's like, you don't have to look any further. Getting a OLED 55-inch a client monitor under $1,000 is a freaking joke. Like 4 years ago, you would be paying $5,000 for this TV. So this is a great option. That's what you're gonna go with for the client monitor. Now I'm gonna show you something called a bias lighting. So we're gonna type in Media Light 6500. That's the company. So just type that in and pop this open. Go under products and click on this guy, Media Light Eclipse. And this one is for computer monitors. And then they have other ones for client monitors. So what I'm using right now is for the TV, which is for the client monitor. But if you want to use it, if you don't have a client monitor or whatever, if you just want to use it on your actual monitor that you're color grading on, then you're gonna just get this guy. And this is what it's gonna look like, right? So once you have this light, these strips mounted to your TV or your monitor in the back, your monitor is going to be illuminated like that, and then you keep the lights off in the entire room, and then that's your bias lighting. And this is the optimal setup when you are color grading in your studio. Just this light, nothing else, you're ready to go, and that is bias lighting. Okay, now we're going to add one more thing here, which is going to be Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini. So I'm gonna pop that open here, and this is the cheapest solution to output an image to your external monitor. So if you have that BenQ or if you have that ISO monitor, you're gonna need this thing. So basically you're gonna plug it in using Thunderbolt from your computer. So it's gonna be connected through Thunderbolt, and then on the other end you're going to be using HDMI in this case because these are not broadcast monitors. So you're going to connect it through HDMI into your ISO or BenQ, and that's going to give you your clean out from DaVinci Resolve. And it's one of those things that you absolutely need. Moving on. So having a proper client seating area, it's a must-have, trust me. So if you're going to have a grading studio, even if it's a home studio, I'm sure you're gonna have enough room to put a small love seat like this, or you can have a chair, but that's gonna be not recommended by me. I would say a love seat is better because usually you'll get 2 to 3 people, but you know, maybe not 3, but 1 to 2 people. So having this will just make sure that that client will be accommodated. And that's all the time I wanna spend on that. So moving on, and then back to the internet speed. At this point, you're doing some remote work with pretty decent companies, and time is money. You need to have faster internet. you're going to be uploading more than downloading. And if you look at the white paper for these cable internet, a lot of the times you have 200, 300 download and only 10 or 15 up. And you got to look at the upload speed, okay? Because when you're going to be uploading something to your client to view or your final, most of the time you're going to be uploading in full quality. So if it's a ProRes and it's a 20-30 minute film you worked on, I mean, we're talking about 30-40 gigs, 25 gigs. So if the file is going to be that big, you need really fast internet to upload those files really fast. So you can't go cheap on that. This will be your business expense. So get top of the line broadband internet connection that your service provider offers. A couple of more things that I want to show for the come up setup tier 2 is a Stream Deck. So this is from this company called Elgato, and these things are unreal. Okay, so basically you can map any keyboard shortcuts to these keys, and each key could be a folder where you can map as many keys as these. So I think it's 15 keys. So each key here could be a folder that can contain 15 keys inside of it, and the possibilities are endless. And I'm telling you, I do not go anywhere without mine. I have the bigger version of this, and it's a complete game changer. Your efficiency is going to be on a whole another level. And once you have this in combination with that, you're unstoppable. Because a lot of people I hear complain about, hey, I don't have my serial node button or things like that here. What should I do? When you have Elgato, when you have the Stream Deck, you can map those right here. And you can have all of your undo, redo, whatever have you could be just on your left hand side. In a later lesson, I'm going to be sharing how I have everything set up, and you can get a better understanding of how to best use a device like this. And then one more thing I want to share is a Thunderbolt dock. And this is very important because what happens is over time, you just have so many things. You have your hard drives, you have external monitors, you have your microphone, Stream Deck, like so many things just sticking out, and you run out of IO inputs at the back of your iMac. And in that case, this guy comes in handy. It's this right here, and just look at the connections that you get out of it. It is crazy. Just look at this, all of that. So you get your output to your audio channels. You get 4 full powered USB 3 ports right here. You get an additional Thunderbolt 3 right here. You get a display port, and in the front you have a headphone jack, SD card, micro SD card, and then a USB-C port right here along with the USB 3 port. I have one of these, and I don't think I can survive without it. So highly recommend it if you need to plug in more stuff, but if not, then you're totally fine. It's not a necessity for tier 2, but I just wanted to give you an option. And then last, certainly not least, we're going to look at our quality control tool, and this time it's going to be the same but even better. So we're going to upgrade to iPad Pro. And I don't mean iPad Pro like $1,000, $1,200 iPad Pro. You can just get one of these. But the difference between an iPad Pro and a regular iPad is that iPad Pro has a much better screen, better quality, and it's almost like an OLED-like quality. So that Retina display goes a long way, and that's definitely a nice upgrade from Tier 3. So I will recommend going with that. And that sums it up. Let's move on to Tier 1 Baller. All right, moving on to our ultimate setup, Tier 1 Baller. This time, we're not gonna hold it back. We're just gonna go all out. I'm gonna start with the Apple's website to build our perfect iMac Pro. And we're gonna go under Buy, we're gonna configure it. And I'm gonna take you through what's important and what you should pay attention to. So when it comes to DaVinci Resolve, this is what you got to keep in mind. DaVinci Resolve is the only tool, if you compare it to Premiere Pro, Avid Media Composer, or Final Cut 10, that uses any and everything that you throw at it. So if you have 18 core processor, it will eat it up. If you have 128 gigs of RAM, it will try to utilize as much as possible. If you have 64 gigs worth of graphic card memory, it will use it. Same thing goes with storage. If you have a fast storage, it will use it. So now that you know that, I will highly recommend going as high as possible on the processor level. This is $2,400 more, so maybe that is just, kind of pushing it. But let's just build it out and see where we go. The thing that you need to know about MacBook Pro is that you cannot put your own memory in there, so you kind of have to stick whatever memory in here and be stuck with it. And look how crazy they are. They know that 64 could be kind of pushing it sometimes. 128 gives you that extra leeway, but then look at the price difference. It goes from 400 to 2,000. So if doubling 64 to 128, you would think it should be 800, not 2,000. So they're smart. Sometimes Apple does things that are just not cool, but what are you gonna do? So we'll stick with 64. That gives you enough headroom and it's pretty good. So I'm gonna move down. And for the graphic card, you absolutely cannot hold it back. Go all out and get this guy right here. And then go down. 1 terabyte is great. Everything else will look just fine. So it's about $8,400, $8,500. So let's just throw it in the bag. So basically what we're looking at is, if I go to, we're looking at around $9,000 after tax. So that's what we got going on over here, and that's without the Apple Care. Now, that's the system, okay? That's the system that literally will breeze through anything and everything you throw at it. In DaVinci Resolve, you can work on 4K footage. It will give you a very breezy experience. Now let's go ahead and build that on eBay. Alright, so let's search for iMac Pro, and I'm gonna do 18 core, and they might not have 18 core iMac Pro. They actually do. So let's click on that guy. It's $7,500 with 128 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte, Vega 64. Okay, so think about this. This right here was $9,000 with only 64 gigs of RAM, and you remember the difference was $1,600 to move up to 128. This one is coming with 128, same Vega 64, and it's only $7,500. And this is an amazing company. I've bought products from them in the past. Just do yourself a favor, save yourself some money, and look into these things. I mean, that's $1,500 right there, easy. That's a lot of money. That could be the money that you will invest either in your client monitor, your hard drive, or so many other things that we're going to be looking at. So that's where I'm going to end our computer section. Let's move on to our external GPU. So I'm going to look at Sonnet E GPU. That is a Sonnet E graphics breakaway box. Basically, you can plug in a full graphic card in there, and it has a Thunderbolt 3 connection that goes into your iMac Pro and gives you an additional graphic card, which is an absolute must. I'm running an iMac with the same breakaway box, and I have another Vega 64X, and guys, if I turn that off, the difference is noticeable. And when I have that running, the performance is unreal. And it's kind of necessary when you're working with 4K footage inside DaVinci Resolve, and especially in a 4K timeline, you really do see the difference. And once you drop in some noise reduction and grain and some additional nodes, all of a sudden it becomes very taxing to play it back in real time. And having that extra GPU really helps move everything along. All right, now just remember, we're already adding a bunch of different I/O devices to our iMac Pro. So right away, you're going to be needing this handy dandy Thunderbolt that I showed you in the last lesson. So just make sure to add that in to your studio setup. No questions. I promise you, iMac does not have enough ports. You will be needing this. So get that and let's move right along. This is what we're going to be getting this time. I know I said baller tier 1, so you were expecting the $30,000 advanced panel, but it's baller, it's not ignorant. We're not going crazy with this. We're still gonna be reasonable. And this thing right here gets you there halfway, if not more than halfway. It just has so much power. It's ridiculous. These LCD screens make all the difference in the world. You have every button that you need to be a very efficient colorist, and it's meant for DaVinci Resolve power users. So having this and mastering it just takes your caliber to a whole another level. So this is a no-brainer. There's no competition. Some people might think, hey, what about Tangent Element, because I can use it with Premiere Pro, Avid Media Composer? Well, one size fits all is never a good idea, and especially in DaVinci Resolve, they keep that API so tight that you need their hardware to achieve the best possible results. So Blackmagic, I'm telling you, control surfaces are just the ultimate game changer. Being able to move two wheels at the same time or two knobs at the same time is the difference between you getting something that will blow your client's mind to you never getting there. When you're just moving one thing at a time, it's so cumbersome. It's just not natural. That's just not how you're supposed to work as a colorist. So control surface for me is always number one when it comes to color grading. All right, moving on. Stream Deck XL. I showed you the Stream Deck in the last lesson. This time we're going to step it up and we're going to get the big boy. This is the one that I'm currently using. The software is rock solid. It never glitches out, and you can program all these keys to any keyboard shortcut inside DaVinci Resolve or any application. Each button could be a folder, and then within that folder you can have 32 keys. That's what you're looking at here, programmed, and the possibilities are endless. I am in love. I don't even think that I've tapped into the full potential yet, but the way I'm using it, I already feel 10 times more efficient. Definitely a must-have. Okay, moving on. Let's get into some exciting stuff and check out some monitors. So I'm going to start off with FSI DM240 from Flanders Scientific. This thing is a beast. I'm currently using this monitor. It's around 4,200, yeah, 4,300 bucks with shipping and everything, and with tax like around $4,600. What a monitor. It's a 10-bit panel. It's only 24 inch and it's an LCD and 1080p monitor, so you might just have thrown up in your mouth thinking, what the hell is going on? Why is this so expensive? It's because there's nothing better I've used in my entire life. This thing is so dialed in. It has hardware scopes that you can pull up inside the monitor. It has a bunch of different LUTs that it comes preloaded with, or you can upload your 3D LUTs directly onto the monitor and then switch them through instead of applying it in DaVinci Resolve. If you have your 4, 5, 6 go-to LUTs, and if you want to see really fast what the image is going to look like once you apply it, you can have them readily available to you. This is actually pretty cool. So it has a focus assist. Because this monitor is also used on site, it brings in some of those features, and it can be useful when you're working on something where you just want to make sure that everything is focused. You can pop that on and look at it really quick. Tons of different scopes options. Look at this. It has audio meters, and these markers, I use them all the time. If I'm doing a split screen or something like that, it's just such a great option to have, to like click one button and pop it open. And this right here, false color, Oh my God, I have it set to my F1, my function 1 key, and because I use it that often, just one quick button and just see that if you have everything under control or if something is just falling a little off, you can just adjust it right away. False color is a big one. All these features you can go through and just take your time reading through it. It has an HDR preview mode. Now this is not a real HDR, so I don't recommend using that to actually color grade, because look at that. So it gives you sort of like a preview, but just remember the biggest thing that differentiates HDR from SDR is the brightness, and this monitor peaks at around 350 nits, and that's SDR limit. For HDR you got to start off at like 500 and over, so this is not enough. See, it says right here clipping at approximately 300 nits, so it's not necessarily enough for HDR grading. It'll give you a preview, it'll give you a taste, but I wouldn't recommend using it for HDR grading. There you have it. I mean, it comes with tons of features. Excellent choice. Now a competitor in this category to this monitor has to be a Sony PVM, this guy right here, A250. So let's look at the 25-inch, which will be similar to what we were looking at. Differentiator between this monitor than the other one is one, it is about $1,800 more, and for those $1,800 you're pretty much getting a OLED screen. So that's the pro if you want to go this route. I'm gonna be honest, LCD doesn't really bother me, so to get a monitor for $4,300, I would rather take that over Sony. And also I've heard a lot of people complaining about the Sony monitor that it usually has like a little green cast. You have to get it calibrated after owning it, and that's kind of a bummer. If I've dropped $6,000 to get a monitor and then I have to pay additional $500 to $800 to have it calibrated, I don't know. Whereas DM240, I can attest and tell you that this monitor is insane. Now, the new kid on the block that's not even out yet, I have to mention, I just have to, and it's this guy right here. For the specs that I'm reading, this is looking more than just Apple's new technology, new thing, something that they're hyping up. It is capable of something more than HDR, XDR, extreme dynamic range, and it has peak brightness of 1600. The contrast ratio is exceptional. It's 32-inch. I don't know. I might just try it. I'm not kidding. I feel like, look at the sustained brightness is 1000 nits. I mean, this thing is HDR ready like nobody's business. P3 gamut, which is super wide. I don't know, guys. I am actually thinking about, I might, this will be a reckless move, but I might sell my Flanders Scientific when this thing comes out and pick this up. But I will wait to read the reviews and just make sure that it is what they're promising that it is. And if that's true, I might pick it up. I'm gonna be honest. So those are your options right here. These guys are not gonna let you grade HDR footage. This will be the only monitor in this price range that's gonna let you grade HDR footage. Your next closest monitor that will let you grade HDR footage, it's gonna be this guy right here. That's gonna be your next monitor that's gonna let you grade high dynamic range HDR footage. And let's just look at the price. So yes, they discontinued it. You have to just look for it, Google it, and see how you can find it. But obviously I cannot find one for sale. Let's just look at eBay, but I'm pretty sure they're not gonna have it. Super rare monitor, one of those that you just have to find out. You have to be in the know to figure it out. But anyways, the point of me showing you that was that the closest monitor that will let you do HDR after your Apple monitor would be a $30,000 super professional monitor by Sony BVM X300 V2. And yeah, so those are your options. Moving along, let's look at some hard drive options. So this is what I'm gonna say. We're gonna go back in here, but we're gonna select a different drive. This time we're gonna click on big and we're gonna go with these. Now let's just stick with 6 big, not the 12 big, and I'm gonna go down and show you what's happening. These things are freaking insane. The speed on this is just ridiculous. So focus in the middle and just look at this. 1400 read and write. I mean, this thing is capable of you working on 6K footage with multiple nodes inside DaVinci Resolve and have absolutely no problems. Thunderbolt 3, and it comes in all shapes and sizes, so you get to pick whatever you want. If I go here, I can start off at 12 terabyte, and like I said, if you move everything over and if you stay tidy, 12 terabytes should be good enough. You wouldn't need anything more than that, but obviously you can go 24, 36, whatever makes you happy. So the speed on this thing is unreal. This is exactly what you want. You can do your research and find a better deal on it. So that's going to be your RAID drive. When it comes to your backup storage, we're not going to mess with it. We're going to stick to the tried and tested Backup Plus Hub by Seagate. Rack them up, put them away, get more, move on. Now, one more option that I'm going to recommend you when it comes to backing up is it's cool to have a local backup. It's cool to have your online storage you're going to work off of. You also need a network storage where you can have a permanent backup that you can have access to when you are away from your home. So for a network storage option, I would go with Synology. That's what I use, and I'll take you through a couple of their different hard drives that they have. A lot of these also offer expansion boxes, so you can even start off with something like that. This is a 4-bay NAS, and it doesn't come with the hard drive, so you have to add hard drives. But this one has a pretty decent processor, and then 2 gigabit ports, and then 4 gigs of RAM. Pretty decent. And then you can load it up with like 4 hard drives. The biggest one, I think there's no limit, so you can have like 4 8 terabytes. So that right there is 24 terabytes, but it'll actually be 18 terabytes because you're going to use one drive for your RAID 5 configuration. So one drive is going to be just for redundancy. So just keep that in mind. But I highly recommend having something like that. Then I could be in Chicago, I could be in New York, and I can access all my data through here, and I can pull whatever I need and never feel stranded. All right, enough on the hard drives. Let's move on to more fun stuff. Now we're going to check out a client monitor. This time we're going to step up our game, and we're going to go with the Panasonic FZ1000 OLED, and this is a very tricky, hard to find monitor. And the place where I found this was, let me try this, Film Tools. Let me see. So if I do Panasonic OLED, yes. So this is the monitor. It's the FZ1000U. See, it's the craziest thing. I mean, you can't even find it when you Google it because it's just such a hidden gem. This thing is everything, okay? This makes the LG OLED and everything look like a child's play. This thing is made by the same people who made your Flanders Scientific monitors, your Sony high-end $30,000 monitors, and they brought in their collective experience to this beauty right here. This monitor is being used by some of the top color grading companies right now, and they're using this to grade on. they're not using this as a client monitor. They're actually grading HDR content for Amazon Prime. As a matter of fact, I'm actually thinking about upgrading to this. I have clients asking for HDR work now, and I feel like it's right around the corner. It's gonna happen anytime. So I'm gonna start practicing, and in order to do that, you need to have a HDR monitor. So it's either this or Apple's new monitor. It's factory calibrated, so you don't even have to mess with it too much. Once you get it, you're ready to go. Moving on with the lighting, I'm gonna take you back to our Media Light website. This time we're just gonna go big, and we're gonna get the bias lighting for a client monitor, and that's what I'm currently using. I have one behind my 55-inch on the wall, and it illuminates everything evenly. So when I'm grading, that's the only light that I have on, and then I just get going. That's gonna be our bias lighting. You absolutely need that. And now I'm gonna look up Ultra Studio 4K HDR. This is the thing that you're gonna need. So this is the Ultra Studio 4K Extreme 3. This tool is kind of expensive, but that's the only product in Blackmagic Designs lineup that lets you output HDR content to your client monitor or to your broadcast monitor. Let's just go quickly again over the client seating. Obviously, when you're gonna have a baller setup, you're gonna need something nicer than a $250 basic B couch. So use your interpretation, go as crazy as you want. The point is that you need a seating area for at least 2 to 3 people. All right, now I want to talk internet, and this is it. This right here. I'm not looking at anything else. This time I'm focusing on fiber optic. Max it out, have the fastest internet that your service provider has, and switch your service if that's what you need to do in order to get fiber optic. This is what I'm using right now. It's a gig down, gig up. I have gone full remote for the last 2 years since I moved here, because this is faster than me driving to my client. It's too fast. It takes me about 4 to 10 minutes to upload a 40 gig file or download a 40 gig file, and that right there, my friends, is a game changer. So fast internet is everything. I pay not even that much for it. I only pay $80 for it because in my area, it's just one of those services that it's just almost the same price as broadband. Some places might have it for $200-300 a month. Again, it's a business expense. You're gonna get a tax write-off. It's something that you just have to invest in. That's that. All right, now finally, I'm gonna sum it up with a quality control tool, and this time we're gonna go all out, and we're gonna go with the iPad Pro 12.9. Just get one of these. If you're feeling really good, get one of these. I just picked one up, and it's worth everything. It's great. I'm using it more than my iPhone and my laptop combined. If you're gonna be putting something out, you gotta test it. You gotta put it on your iPad first, turn off the True Tone, look at it on your iPad, see how it looks, get a feel for it. And if it looks good on your iPad, if everything looks kosher, then it's a go. It's that important. That's why I made the investment. I'm using it as a professional tool, not as a toy. Definitely a must-have. And that wraps up Tier 1 Baller. All right, so this is very exciting because it doesn't matter how badass of a system you have. If your software is not optimized, you're not gonna get the desired results, okay? So what I wanna show you is I'm gonna take you through a couple of different settings to get the smoothest playback. So if I go under my color page right now and show you what I got going on, you can see there's a bunch of different nodes happening, and especially this guy right here is the biggest culprit, noise reduction. And if I play it through, look at the frame rates right here. This is after having multiple graphic cards, 64 gigs of RAM, 10 core processor, 1 terabyte flash drive, and a studio RAID with 700 read and write speed. It's still doing this. So what's happening? What can we do to make this better? Right now we're at around, let's say, 11 frames. How can we make it better? So the first thing we can try, you just want to make sure that there's nothing running in the background. Turn off all your applications and just have Resolve being the only application on your system actively running. So that's one. Two, go in your settings, right here in your master settings, timeline resolution, you can reduce it easily to 1080p. And that's what I recommend when you're color grading or editing. It does not reduce the quality. You will not see any loss, and especially when you're outputting, you can bump it up, force it to full res, so you don't have to worry about that. Let me just play it back again and see if it improves the performance. And right there, it did the trick. Look at that. Now it's playing in 24 frames. Just by doing that, we doubled our frame rate. And even after having the noise reduction and same note tree, we're getting a perfect playback. So that's one way to optimize your media. I always work in 1080p timeline. Let me just go back to 4K timeline. I want to show you different ways you can optimize your media. So let's just say it's back to 4K, and if I do a playback now, we should be down to 11, 12 frames again. So what can we do? I'll turn this off for now, and then right under your playback, you got a couple of different settings. One, we can optimize this media, which means we can transcode it, or we can mess with these modes. So we can play this footage, which is 4K. Let me just click on it and look at it. So it's 4K right here, my resolution. So I can go right here, go under playback and say, you know, why don't you play at half resolution? So let's see if that does anything. We were getting about 13 frames, 12 frames. Let's do a playback. There you go, that fixed it. Now we're playing it back at 24 frames a second. So another successful optimization hack to fix what we were dealing with. Let's just say, let's take it back to off. What else? So let me show you one more way to go about it, which would be grabbing this clip, finding it in your media pool right here, and then right clicking on it and say generate optimized media. So this is what it's going to do. It's going to go through and create a transcoded file, and then it will replace it on top of this clip. Now the problem with this process, as you can see right here, is that it's going to be optimizing the entire clip, and the entire clip is very long. So look at how long it's going to take to optimize the entire clip, and that's not what we probably want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. So you can see optimized media would be the last choice. I would look it through proxies, which was right here under playback proxy mode, where we can just on the fly make it half resolution and play it back. I would also drop my resolution down to 1080p. And by doing those two things and just making sure nothing is running in the background, Resolve is the only application, you should be able to get the most out of whatever system you're using Resolve on. Okay, so now I want to take you through some delivery options. Let's just say this is your final edit ready for export. The way you want to attack this is by creating a master ProRes. This is basically a file that you're going to be using to create many different deliverables. So this needs to be in the highest quality possible. So I know that this timeline was 4K, so I'm gonna go ahead and change my resolution to 4K, and let's just assume that this was shot with Alexa or Red, which means 422HQ is not the highest quality we can get out of it. So we're gonna go and pump it up to 444XQ. And once you have these settings set to this, you can scroll down advanced settings and just click these two guys, force sizing to highest quality and force depair to highest quality. And at that point, you're pretty much ready to go, and all you have to do is add to render queue, And then that will be your pristine ProRes master. Okay, so that's just a general practice. And let's just do it. Let's just try it out. So we had our ProRes. It was set to 444XQ, and it had, this looks good. Now I can just go ahead here and say ProRes 444 and save it. So look what happens now. Now if I click right here to ProRes master, it defaults back to 422HQ, but look at what's sitting right here. So it doesn't even matter. I could be in my edit page, go back to my delivery page, and look, the first thing is right here. So just watch what happens here. As soon as I click on it, boom, it goes to 444XQ, 4K resolution, and these are checked on. I'm ready to go. I don't even need to do anything. Just click, boom, it's gonna move over. I'm ready to go. So this is very important to remember. Now that we've exported our ProRes master, let's focus on our H.264 or our web version. Usually in our web version, we're gonna have two different types, a review web version and a final web version. So review is gonna be for your client to check it out and give you some feedback. And then your final is gonna be what's gonna end up on Vimeo, YouTube, or your personal website or client's website, whatever have you. So let's start our webmaster based on whatever is available here. So I'm going to click on H.264 master and then kind of go through these settings and see what's happening here. I'm not a huge fan of auto, like for the quality. So here's what I recommend. If this is going to the client, we can do this. First of all, we don't need this resolution, okay? So we can easily drop this resolution down to 720p, and we can drop this down to, I will just do 8000, and that is, and I will check these off. I don't need those checked. And now I'm gonna go here and call it for client, or just client. So now we have this over here. Again, we saved this version, so if I click on something else, it's totally changed. If I want to export it for my client, I can just click right here and it will pull up all those settings, and then I hit render and it moves it over and I can just render it out. So that's one version that we created. Now let's create a final web version, which is going to be the highest quality web version. Okay, so I'm going to start off from my base by clicking on H.264 master. Now what I want to do is I want to leave it at 4K because that's exactly what I want. I don't want automatic, so I'm going to restrict it, and I want to make sure that these are checked on again. And then we're going to go to our restrict to, and I'm going to change it to 80,000 this time. 80,000 is perfect for 4K. If it's 1080, you can do 40,000, but 80,000 is just more than enough. And if you guys have seen my videos on YouTube or Vimeo, the quality is just next level, and it's because this is how I export my videos. I don't need to save this version because I believe it's already saved, web 4K 80,000, so I don't need to save that. And that's about it. Same process, add to render queue and hit render, and you're ready to go. Now let's look at a specialty item, which is your aspect ratio for your IG. So if you're exporting it for a square, let's just go and look at a better example. So I'm gonna go under my timelines. Let me just do this really quick. I'm gonna go under my timelines and I'm gonna pop open one of these. So let's just say this. If I want to export this in a square aspect ratio, this is what I have to do. First of all, I'm gonna have to go here and I'm gonna change that. So I'm gonna go back to 1080p and then I'm gonna change that to 1080 by 1080. Now when I hit save, look what happens. Now everything is looking great. This is how it's supposed to be. Now I go to my delivery, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go, let's just build it off of this. So our H.264 master, and what I need to do is custom resolution. So I need to set it to 1080 by 1080, and then I'm not gonna do auto again, and Instagram resolution are super low, so you can get away by doing 6000, and I don't need these checked. So I'm gonna do this, and we're ready to go. I can go in here and I can save this preset, but again, I don't need to, because if you click right here, you can see IG post. So I already saved it, but this is what you need to do for your IG post. And don't worry about this pillar boxing, because once you export it, you won't be seeing that pillar boxing. It's gonna come out nice and clean in a square format. So guys, those were all the different delivery settings that you will probably be using in the future. And I showed you how to create your ProRes master and different types of web versions, and then we looked at our IG version and how to save your presets. Alright, so in this lesson, I want to kind of fill you in on what remote grading is and how to go about it. So I will divide this into two categories. First is going to be review tools, and the other one is going to be internet and storage options. So let's touch base on the first one. The two hottest review tools that are available today are Frame.io and Vimeo Pro. So I'm going to take you through these, and we're just going to look at what each one offers. So in general, they're very similar. It just comes down to your preference or your familiarity. So let's just look at Frame.io first. I absolutely love Frame.io, and it's just so simple and so fast. The app support is great, and it definitely takes the cake over Vimeo when it comes to mobile integration. And look at the companies that are using it. So there's some big dogs putting that thing to work, and it's so user friendly. It's just so easy to use. It's meant for that collaboration and taking out friction and making it super easy for clients to kind of jump in and leave feedback and then be notified once you address those changes. And just look at it. They're not making this up. It actually is ridiculously fast. And what makes it really crazy is that it's built-in integration with these tools. So you could be in Final Cut 10 and upload directly from inside Final Cut 10 to your Frame.io, and then your client can see it, and when they comment on something, you will be notified inside Final Cut 10, and same goes for Premiere Pro, After Effects, and DaVinci Resolve. So that integration is pretty huge. I've worked on a pretty big project in Premiere Pro, and my creative director and I were just banging stuff out. We were working remotely, but it felt like we were in the same room. And I'm gonna give you a quick example of what I mean. So now we're inside Frame.io. So this is my company right here, and this is an actual project that I'm working on. So if I double click on it and open it up, this is what you're gonna see. So these little dots indicate where the client has left comments, and I can hover over and see what it is. Now if I click on it, it'll take me exactly there, or when you look at the right side, see what's happening. So I can just click on one of these and it'll take me straight to that. I mean, this is a dream come true. Like, we did not have that back in the day. Like, we were, and when I say back in the day, I literally mean like 3 years ago. We were writing down notes, we were time stamping everything in an email, and it was just a manual process. This is just unreal. So I can click on it, and then I can play it back, and if I fixed it, I can do a couple of things. One, I can just reply and tell them whatever. If I can't fix it and something else needs to happen or whatever, and if I did complete it, then I can just check this off, and it says completed by you. So I've already completed it, and I checked these off. So I didn't have to leave comment, and I didn't. So there might be times when you are leaving a comment, other times you're just gonna check it and you're good to go. So it's so simple, and that's Frame.io for you. And now I'm gonna go look at Vimeo. So we're all familiar with Vimeo. Vimeo is pretty big in the filmmaking community. It used to be a tool where you showcase your work, and now it's becoming much more than that. You can stream there, you can review a video there, and the collaboration is pretty cool. So it's gonna look something like this. You can have your client drop in a comment, annotate something on screen, and then you can go ahead and fix it, and they'll be notified just like Frame.io, and they have a bunch of different options for you to choose from. Currently, I am using the Pro option right here, $20 a month. It's pretty sweet. If you go through and just read the description, it's really gnarly. So I'm gonna take you in to a Vimeo Pro account, and now if I'm playing this back,
here with our 2019 car of the
I can just click anywhere and say bring up lower third, and then if I hit enter, it drops it there, and then you can keep going.
The Genesis G70. This year, that champion.
I can go too warm, and that right there. And now if I hover over and click on it, it's gonna take me to that exact time code. And again, I can see that time code here, but unlike Frame.io where you can hover over and read the caption, it doesn't really give you that here. But you can always just click on it and it'll take you there, and then these stay the same. So I can check it off once I'm done, or if I say I can't cool it off, blah blah blah, I can just leave a comment here for them. So pretty similar. The difference is that when you go to your mobile device, the app on Vimeo does not support the review tool features yet as of now, but Frame.io works perfectly fine, and that's just a drawback for Vimeo and plus for Frame.io. I'm not sure what kind of tools you're using for review, but jump on these. It's worth the money, and presentation is everything. And if you want to establish yourself as a professional, then you have to start investing some money into your business and have these proper tools to stay on top of your game. Now, let's look into our internet and storage options. So basically, I'm going to take you through my favorite to my least favorite. And here is Google Drive. I mean, we all know Google products because pretty much anyone and everyone has Gmail. So you're familiar with this. And it's just the best solution out there. Everything in one place. And you've used Google Docs. You know, you've used Google Sheets. Like if you've used those things, then you understand what Google Doc is. The integration is unreal. How stuff shows up on your devices, whether you're using an Android or iPhone, doesn't matter. You can share your files with friends super easy. Just right click, put in their email address, and there you go. Storage is super cheap. This is probably the cheapest option and super robust. I've noticed the speed gains are pretty crazy. They don't throttle anything, and I've uploaded a 25 gig file in under 40 minutes. So it's pretty darn fast on a 1 gig connection. So I highly recommend Google Drive. And you're going to be using this for uploads and downloads. If you're working with someone in Russia, let's just say, and they're uploading a 40 gig file and it's a short film that you're grading for them, they can upload it on a Google Drive. You can pull it down from Google Drive, grade it, and then once it's done, you can upload it to G Drive, and then they can pull it down from there. So this is when you're going to be using this for. I will not recommend using these options as your review tool. For client review, stick with Vimeo or Frame.io. Moving on to our second storage option, that will be Dropbox. Price is very competitive, and it's super speedy, super fast. App support is next level. The only thing that I found disappointing is I had some people complaining about when they try to download a file, it says it cannot zip this file because the file is too large. And that was a weird error, but it wasn't a mistake. It's actually a thing with Dropbox. So that's pretty disappointing because with video work, your files sometimes are super huge and there's no way around it. So I canceled my Dropbox subscription recently for that reason. But if you've been using it without a problem, stick with it. It's totally fine. And if you're uploading or downloading files that are not super huge, then this shouldn't affect you. Moving on, we got WeTransfer. Anything that's under 2 gigs, it's free. That's just one of those services that everybody knows about for some reason. Super nimble, fast, no throttling, love it. One-click operation. And then they also have paid plans, where you can upload 20 gigs at a time, $12 a month, store up to 100 gigs of files. So it's pretty cool. Not a bad deal. So you can look into it. If you're comfortable with WeTransfer, then, by all means use it. And now I'm going to move on to the big boy, Wire Drive. It's used on a corporate level. Bunch of big companies use Wire Drive. It's sort of like a go-to when it comes to creative agencies and client collaboration. Just look at these brands. I mean, this is insane, but it is ridiculously expensive. And unless you're running a company with 15 plus employees and doing a ton of work for a client, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, look at it. You click on pricing and it's one of those. It's like going to that restaurant, where the menu doesn't have any prices, so it's going to be super expensive. It's exactly the same thing. I don't even want to know. So here's your options for internet and storage. My winner is going to be Google Drive for storage. And for review tools, my winner is going to be Vimeo, only because I love Frame.io review tools over Vimeo. But the reason why I will choose Vimeo over Frame.io is because on Vimeo you can do so much more. Better bang for your buck, because it's a platform where you can showcase, where you can host all your video files, and then along with that, it gives you the ability to use it as a review tool, whereas this only has one purpose, which is use this as a review tool. So my 2 cents. I will see you in the next lesson. Alright, so now I want to take you through a few of my productivity apps, and the reason why I'm bringing them up is because it's going to help clear up space and make DaVinci Resolve perform at its best. So the first thing you want to do is right here, this app called Amphetamine. You can download it from the App Store, and the cool thing about that is it lets you keep your system up for X amount of hours. So it could be whatever. So if I'm rendering something in Resolve, a lot of the times iMac could be stupid and it will go to sleep. But here I can just set it up, and let's just say I know that it's going to be going on for 2 hours. I can set it up for 4 hours and then walk away, and it will make sure to keep the system on and not go to sleep for 4 hours. Very helpful. It's not the same to turn off go to sleep option on your computer, because then your computer will never go to sleep and you're overworking your hard drives and system and everything else. This way it's temporary, and I can just end current session at any time, and then it can resume, and then my system can go to sleep if I don't use it for 15 minutes or whatever you have it set to. So that's one. Second app has to be Clean My Mac, and this is a paid app. It's $30 or something like that. Guys, this is unreal, okay? A lot of the times you got to scan your system and get rid of tons of files because it's just a random buildup. Like right now, if I do a scan, I will be able to empty at least 100 gigs or something like that. I know that for a fact. And then you see memory. This is also very, very accessible. So I have 64 gigs of RAM, and it's saying that there's only 10 gigs available. So I'm going to hit this button, let it do its thing. See, it freed up quite a bit. Another thing you got to keep in mind over here is maintenance. So if your hard drives are acting up or something like that, you can always come in here and verify them. Inside here, there's so many maintenance and optimization tools that are available with this app that it's totally worth adding it to your productivity app list. And then the third one is going to be Carbon Copy Cloner. I talked about making backups, but I never showed you how to do it. So this is the app, and let's just look at this. So it's taking my YouTube original content from my RAID drive and it's putting it onto my backup drive, which is the Seagate 8 terabyte, and it's copying everything over at 11 p.m. every day. So that runs automatically, and it will tell you right here the last run was Wednesday, September 11th at 11:05 p.m. and it backed up everything. Next is going to be tomorrow at 11:06 p.m. So it just does its thing in the back. I don't have to worry about it. That's it. You want to create a new task, you can just hit plus here, drop in a drive or folder you want to copy, then give it a destination, schedule it, and you're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I don't need that. But there you have it. 3 productivity apps to speed up your workflow. Get super excited, guys, because this one is for you. I love you, and for that reason, I'm going to be giving you guys the ultimate sauce. I am crazy about keyboard shortcuts, and I literally refuse to work with my mouse. If I can map a key and hit a key to do something, that's what I want to do. I do not support contextual menus. So for that reason, I went hot and heavy creating a bunch of different keyboard shortcuts in my own keyboard layout. And what I'm going to be doing is this right here. I'm going to be exporting this for you. And it's going to be under course materials. And you will have access to it. Once you download it, you will be importing that preset. I just exported it. You're going to be importing that preset. Go to that. You're going to double click on it. And that's going to bring in my secret sauce keyboard customization into your DaVinci Resolve. And this is not it. I'm about to give you the biggest sauce in the history of all sauces, and that is right here, guys. This will make you want to buy the Stream Deck, no freaking question. If you have a Stream Deck XL, I'm about to export my profile settings for you guys as soon as I figure out how to export these settings. There you go. We're doing it. So I'm exporting my Resolve settings for Stream Deck XL, and it will also be under course materials. Boom. There you go. And then you're going to go in and you're going to import it right here, and then go track it down and open it up, and you're going to magically get these settings for DaVinci Resolve. And let me just give you a quick rundown on what's happening here. I'm gonna actually start with JKL. So you got your pause, play, rewind right here. Then you got your in and out point right above that. Then you got clear in, clear out. You got mark clip, and then you got clear into out. So this is how I have my stuff set up. And then this is your start to playhead, which is going to trim everything before the playhead. And then this is going to be end to playhead, which is going to remove everything after the playhead. Then once you have your in and out marked, you can go to in, go to out right here. And this right here is cut and ripple cut. Here is insert, override, replace, 3 general edits. And then under here you have play around, match frame, and you have your cursor, trim, blade. So 3 tools right here. And then underneath you have copy, paste attributes, retime, redo, undo, zoom out, zoom in, zoom to fit. Guys, I'm telling you, this is created after years and years of using Logitech G13 and recently Stream Deck XL. This is dialed in.
not a single key goes misused on this panel. And then when you double click on color page, just look at this. So basically this is a folder. Once you click on the color page, now all these settings are for your color page. So you got full screen, you got previous version, new version, next version, you got apply color 2 clips prior, apply color 1 clip prior, and then you got your play still, split screen. We got our JKL right in the same position. Then you got your pre-node, so create a node before your current node, post node, create a node after your current node, grab a still, and then underneath you got your highlights, you got your black and white highlights, you got dynamic keyframe, next keyframe, previous keyframe, parallel node, layer node, outside node. You got your standard zoom out, zoom in, zoom to fit, undo, redo, and then you got your disable node, reset node, bypass everything. I'm telling you, this is, you're welcome. You're lucky. I love you guys. All right, now take a look at memories. Again, this is a folder. You double click on it, and here you go. So these are your 6 vector presets up top. So red, green, blue, cyan, yellow, magenta, dark. You can just grab all of those by using these quick keys. And I've created these, and they don't exist until you upload or import my keyboard shortcuts into your DaVinci Resolve. Just an FYI. Then these are standard. So these are save memories from 1 through 8 and load memories from 1 through 8. And underneath we're gonna have the standard bypass, reset, disable node, redo, undo, zoom out, zoom in, zoom to fit. And guys, you got it all. Here's some goodies that I wanted to give it to you guys to show my appreciation. I will see you in the next lesson. All right, time for a quick recap. So I started by sharing some research tools to get going when it comes to building your own studio. Then I broke down the studio setup into 3 different tiers, and we started with the bottom tier, broke, and I showed you the bare minimum equipment you need to build your first studio. Then we moved up to tier 2, come up, where I showed you how to scale your studio to a point where you can start taking on bigger projects. And then finally, I showed you tier 1, baller, that is capable of 4K pipeline and working on projects remotely covering the entire globe. Then I showed you some system optimization hacks that can really boost up your system performance. I shared export settings with you for multiple deliverables and showed you how to save time by creating presets in the deliver page. Then I took you through my remote grading services, whether it's sharing a project with the client for a review or uploading the finished product. Then I shared some productivity apps to speed up your workflow. And finally, I gave you my ultimate secret sauce that is priceless. And I cannot wait for you guys to incorporate this in your workflow.
Now I'm gonna conclude it by saying this. Having a really solid studio is gonna cost you a lot of money. So you gotta be careful and you gotta stay focused with what you need to what you want. And having a proper setup, having a proper studio can just save you so many headaches in the long run and will put your focus on what matters, being creative. Now, I hope and pray that it changes soon, but up until now, having a really rad studio can go a long way, meaning you can charge your client a lot more money. Time for recommendations. Number 1, start from broke setup. Okay, it doesn't matter. Even if you have money, but you haven't made money as a colorist, then you're just like throwing away your money for no reason. So I will say, start small, start from the base setup, base tier that I showed you. And then when you get paid $500 for a job, take that $500 and spend it to move onto your come up setup and then eventually to your baller setup. So that's the way you got to think about it to be successful. Number 2, and I've seen way too many people make that mistake. Guys, please build a studio that's practical. Build a studio that has meat over aesthetics. A lot of people are building studios for their imaginary clients. They haven't even landed a color grading gig, and they got all these bells and whistles that are not necessarily practical, but something that they think that, clients will find exciting and impressive. That's just a bad strategy. Do not do that. Now, that said, I don't want you to be cheap. You can't be cheap in this field. Stuff is very expensive and nothing makes sense. I mean, paying $5,000 for a 1080p LCD screen is nonsensical, but guys, quality matters, and ultimately it will help you elevate your game and get you to a whole another league. And my biggest hack when it comes to building a really solid studio is buy everything used. Everything used, okay? If you buy everything used, it's gonna cost you half the amount of money to build your dream setup. The end. Guys, I encourage you to not rush it and take your time. When you are looking for a certain piece of equipment, do your due diligence and find good deals on it. Buy it used, do not pay full price for it. And guys, this is also a $1 million tip. So bookmark these websites: newsshooter.com, nofilmschool.com, bnh.com, johnnyelvin.com, studiodaily.com, and go through these websites daily. I would say that should be the first thing when you wake up. Just kind of scroll through, be in the know, and stay current. And just remember, we have a FB group for FCM. Make sure to join and stay active, and I will see you in the next module.